What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for yet another Tottenham update and yet more Conte talks. And we'll get straight into it with David Ornstein talking about Antonio Conte. And he said from early April, it is expected that decisive conversations will be held between Tottenham and Conte to determine his position. Despite both parties knowing Conte's deal is coming to an end, various on and off the field factors mean the situation has yet to be brought to a head internally. Tottenham have not spoken to any other managerial candidates and will remain this way until the club reach a decision on Conte's future, with talks expected early April. Romano says that no changes on Antonio Conte's situation. Final decision will be at the end of the current season with the club, but the feeling remains that Conte will leave Tottenham in June. Family and personal reasons will be crucial, and Spurs have not started the new coach process as of yet. So both of them kind of in alignment in what they're saying. And what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. I think the board are not going to act, and while we still have a realistic chance of getting top four and while we're in a good position, I don't think they want to jeopardise that kind of situation. So it doesn't surprise me they're waiting until the end of the season to see how the dominoes fall, and then they'll make a final decision. Obviously, regardless of what happens, it looks like Conte is going to be leaving, so I think they probably should start the search already, to be honest. You could say it's disrespectful while we already have a head coach to start looking for a new one, but we do need to start planning for next season. We do need contingency planning for the inevitable. So I would start sounding out possible other managers and stuff, unless there's actually is a chance of Conte staying, which doesn't look like there is. But I think they're probably in their heads, the board, willing to put it off until next season and just play it till the end of the season and see how it goes. That doesn't surprise me because they don't like planning for ahead, do they? They like the short term. Or that's how they've acted recently.
I mean, yeah, they planned for Conte though when they sacked Nuno. That was done pretty quickly, fairly quickly after. And I think on the most part, I mean, apart from when we hired Nuno after we sacked Jose Mourinho, we do kind of hire managers quite quickly after we do sack them, and we do maybe have succession plan. I think maybe that one when we did sign Nuno may have been the exception maybe to the rule. But I kind of feel like last week I was feeling that Antonio Conte is definitely leaving. But after hearing that embargoed section, I did kind of feel like there is a chance for Conte to stay after the season, saying that he wants time and patience. The club are willing to give it to him, but he feels like the fans are not willing to give it to him. But I don't know. I kind of feel like if there is a big feeling that both of them are going to separate ways at the end of the season, is it so disrespectful to maybe start looking for a manager before he leaves? I
don't think so, but I'm just saying you could argue. People might argue that Conte hasn't said he's leaving yet and all this kind of stuff, and it's not guaranteed. So while he's still in charge and he's at the helm, we shouldn't be sounding out other managers. But I would argue if there is a feeling and if it is reciprocated between both parties, then I do think we should start because we're a big football club and we need to start planning for the future, and we need a long-term vision. And if Conte is not going to be part of it, I think we should start looking for life after Conte, 100%.
Did you get the kind of same or similar feeling to me about that embargoed section last week, or did your feelings not change at all after watching that?
My feelings have always been the same on Antonio Conte. I think he's going to make his decision at the end of the season. I think he's always waited this whole time. He's always been pretty consistent in what he's going to do. This is just what it looks like, pretty much, him waiting to the end of the season to make a decision. He's always said it. So I think that ideally he wants time and patience to build a winning mentality, and he said he can't build it overnight. But I think he's waiting to see what the situation is at the end of the season, where the club is at, where the team is at, what position we finish, and all this kind of stuff. Obviously, we're not going to have any silverware. But I don't think it's changed. I've always thought he's going to make a decision at the end of the season. He's been pretty consistent on it. So that all doesn't surprise me. I do think it's more than a lean now towards him leaving. It's now looks like it's fairly certain at this point. But I still think he's not 100% sure what he's doing at this point. I still think he's yet to definitively make up his mind. There's always going to be rumours and talk. To be honest, I remember when he was at Inter Milan, right? And at the end of his first season, I think everyone thought it was a given he was gone. everyone, I remember that before the end of the season, I think it was just before they lost the Europa League final, everyone was saying he's pretty much done, he's gone. Everyone was saying he's walking out the door, the Europa League final was going to be his last game, and that was it. Like, it was pretty much definitive. And then they lost the final, and then he announced after a few days that he was actually going to remain. That's what happened. And it was pretty much as certain as we are now that he was going to leave then, as we are now. So for me, nothing's ever 100% certain with Antonio Conte, as much as it seems it. Nothing ever is.
I guess the only difference then is his contract wasn't running down at the end of that season, was it? Because he still had a year or two left on it.
I can't remember, to be honest. I have to double check. You might be right on that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that was the only difference. And I think now, if we want him to stay, obviously he does.
We do have a year extension.
Yeah, that's true. But again, like, would you want Conte to stay if it's just that year extension without signing?
No, I want him to sign a multi-year deal. 100%. I wouldn't want just another year and then more uncertainty. 100%. I wouldn't want to go for another year, like, with all this uncertainty again.
Yeah, it's just too much, isn't it? It's just way too much. But anyway, let's move on. Let's talk about Harry Kane now. We brought you the news over the past couple of days that Man U are potentially sniffing around for Harry Kane's signature. David Ornstein has been speaking about it today, and he says Tottenham have opened initial talks with Harry Kane over a new deal. Discussions are not at an advanced stage as of yet. The club's complete focus are on Kane's future and prepared to continue efforts into next season. Tottenham are not even contemplating the sale of Harry Kane, who is on the list of Manchester United. Tottenham determined to extend the contract and prepared to continue efforts into his final 12 months of his contract. Christian Falk, Bayern Munich journalist, says that Bayern Munich's hopes of signing Harry Kane are fading amid strong belief that he wants to stay in England. And ESPN are saying that Manchester United are focusing on alternative targets to Harry Kane, as Man U do not want to deal with chairman Daniel Levy.
That is definitely reason enough not to go for it, I can tell you. That doesn't surprise. I think the Faulkner news is obvious, in my opinion. I think it's been obvious whenever we've talked about this subject. He ain't going to the Bundesliga. It ain't going to happen. They can dream on. Why would he waste his prime year? I mean, you can say waste. He can win some German leagues and maybe really seriously compete for a Champions League, but he doesn't want to play in Germany. He doesn't want to play in the Bundesliga. That's not him. That's just not what his career trajectory has gone towards. So to end his career in the Bundesliga, that's just not what Kane wants to do. So I've always thought it was a non-starter going to Bayern Munich, in my opinion. When it comes to Man United, I mean, obviously there's conflicting reports. Some say they're going to really target him. Some saying they're moving away from him. For me, it makes more sense for them to go for someone else rather than Harry Kane if they're really going to spend big money in this summer. That's how I see the situation. If they do that, then maybe that would be a case for Kane staying. Obviously, we do get Champions League football this summer. Obviously, it's going to, and if Conte does leave, obviously it's going to take a lot of convincing for Kane to really be convinced that this Spurs, he can actually achieve stuff with the Spurs team. But he is running out of serious options of where to go. Because Liverpool and Chelsea potentially will be out of the Champions League. If Spurs are in it, he'll have another shot at the top table for another year. So I do think that it's leaning towards him staying at least for another year and potentially run down his contract or signing a new one. But it's, again, a bit like Conte, I just think he's assessing it at the end of the season. I just don't think he's going to make any plans right now.
It kind of is a very viable option, isn't it, for him just to stay for that one more year, and then he'll have his pick of wherever he wants to go, literally. And even if any club,
and even if it means as well, stay another year and right at the end of that season sign a contract.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, this summer, as much as he's only got 1 year left, Daniel Levy is going to make it so hard for him to leave. So hard for him to leave, and I don't think they will accept anything less than 100 million from an English club.
I think that's right. You don't have your club top goal scorer who's still at the top of his game, and you don't let him go for anything less than top dollar for the circumstances. But if we are offering him a new contract, do you reckon we literally go all out Mbappe style deal to try and keep him?
They were saying a few days ago. There was a report saying that, you know, he will be involved in the key decisions at the club, potentially the next manager and stuff like that. I mean, Yeah, I think I would go that route. Not the exact same route as maybe like literally give him the keys to the kingdom and you know, he makes every single decision. But I think a player like Harry Kane, with what he's built over the years at this club, I actually think he should be at that level at this club and be maybe not involved in the decision making, but maybe involved in like influencing the decision makers.
Yeah, I think I think if that's what it's going to take, then we need to. That's what we need to do, because I think we need to keep him. I think it's desperate that we keep him around, and I really hope there can be some sort of agreement where we can get him to sign a contract. But again, look, if we do finish third in the league somehow, look, we're only 2 points behind United. If we do end up finishing third,
how is that even possible?
I don't know. But if we do somehow finish third, maybe he will believe like. Okay, maybe like, you know, we've had such a bad season, we're finishing third. Maybe after another year, maybe we can do something different next season. Who knows?
Hope so. And do you think he maybe looks at this season and looks at all the factors going into it, like the injuries, the Conte situation, Ventroni, you know, everything put into it together, and feel like maybe, you know, if things went a bit smoother, we could have had a really good season?
I think he would say that. I think he would if it was like his third or fourth season, but this is like 10th now, and you know, I think you just wouldn't begrudge him if he ran out of patience, to be honest, because when is it ever going to happen? If it hasn't happened after 10 years, I mean, it's hard to believe that it ever will happen. So that I feel sympathy with, but I'm sure he will take those circumstances under consideration, but I think it's the excuses wear thin when it's the 10th year. Yeah,
I'd agree with that. Last but not least, let's talk about the goalkeeping situation at Tottenham and journalist Gaston Edul, a South American journalist, saying that Tottenham have specific interest in Emi Martinez and may make an offer in the coming weeks for the Argentine World Cup winning goalkeeper. We've spoken about him quite a bit since the World Cup. He was linked to us during the World Cup as well. I mean, the way I look at it is that I wouldn't be too against bringing him in, but I would like to see other targets maybe gone for before him, and David Raya is definitely above him on my list for sure.
Romero's definitely been in the clubs here, that's for sure. I bet Romero and Martinez get on really well, but for me, when I look at Martinez, I just think he's a bit overrated. I think his I think if he didn't have that shithousery edge to him, I don't think he'd be much more than an average Premier League goalkeeper. I think he's done a good job for Villa. He stepped in and done decent, and obviously he did have a good World Cup. But I think his shot stopping is fairly average. I think with the ball at his feet, he's not great. I do think he's pretty good at coming for crosses. He's pretty commanding, but I don't know. I just think that a lot of the time the shithousery clouds his flaws a lot, and I just don't think he's a bad goalkeeper by any stretch. I just don't know if he's a top 6 goalkeeper. I do have my reservations over that.
Not a top 6 goalkeeper, but a World Cup winning goalkeeper. It's crazy to think, but no, I actually I like Martinez. I do, but I just think that there are other goalkeepers out there that would just fit us a lot better. And I think that we need to go to a goalkeeper that's really comfortable with their feet now. I think with the modern game, I think it's just so important. And is Martinez that guy? I'm not too sure, but look, literally, I think David Raya would be number 1. But who else, like around the world football, are you looking at for maybe the goalkeeping?
You got Costa from Porto. There are some. I'm trying to think.
Raya just makes sense, though, doesn't it? He's rejected 2 contract offers at Brentford. His contract is running down. He's at a fairly good age. I don't see why not. He should be the one that we should.
He's the one I really like. Yeah, I really think he's got high potential, and I do think he's better than Martinez. I really do.
Yeah, I agree. He seems to be getting like man of the match week in, week out as well for Brentford. So he's definitely one that should be very high up on our list, and I'm sure he is as well with all the contract situation. You know how Spurs like to operate.
Oh,
they like to go for players that are running down their contracts, and he's most definitely one of them. So we'll have to see how everything plays out. But that is your Tottenham update for today. Let me know in the comment section below if there are any news stories that you want to talk about. Like, subscribe and comment, and as always,
come on you Spurs.